Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Frivolous Writer, where you can join me on this journey of me writing my very first novel. This is the 13th episode, and I just want to say it's airing on a Friday. So is it technically Friday the 13th, right before Halloween? So it's not. It's actually going to be Friday the 3rd, but very close. But I'm excited to share with you some learnings that I've had on this journey so far. And actually, this video was inspired by someone who left a comment named Airbug on my last video, where they asked me, it would be nice to see your writing setup. So, do you have a place that you like to write? What tools do you use? For example, a laptop, a journal, a typewriter. What snacks or drinks do you keep on hand? Something like that. And I just thought that was such an interesting question because it's something that I didn't even think about sharing. But obviously, like I think when I think about my writing process, I try to do the same thing every day. And that really helps me with keeping track of where I'm at. So, today I want to share with you something that's quite personal, which is my writing process. So, before I jump into it, I do want to just say a huge thank you to everybody who is coming back, watching these videos, making comments, liking the video, subscribing to the videos. It's pretty crazy to me. And I know I say this every video, but I really when I set out to start this channel, I really did it with the intent of wanting to create a community of people who were writers like me, but who have never started, who don't know what they're doing, but who are eager to learn and wanting to share that journey with everyone, with each other. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of those of you who have started on this journey with me from the very beginning, from just over a month ago. And we're up to today, 31 subscribers, which is so crazy and so amazing because I know I said this last time, but when I started, I really thought that who would want to listen, who would want to watch. Watch this journey, but I did also have this like feeling inside that this is something that I needed to do for myself. This is a passion of mine. It really is something that I've wanted to do for so long, which is write a novel. This idea has been in my head for decades, literally decades, of writing a novel or writing something that was meaningful to me. And the level of engagement I've experienced so far has been amazing. And so just a huge thank you to those of you who come into my videos, watch them every week. And so I just can't say thank you enough. And with that, I do want to jump into something that was kind of brought up by Airbug. So today what I want to do is I want to go over some stuff like where I'm writing, what I'm using to write, my practices, like what it is that I do every single day, day after day. So I'll talk about a little bit about that, and then we can hopefully get some engagement from you. So if you have what you do, what you use, what your process is to make sure that you're writing every single day, because we are building towards NaNoWriMo, which is in November. And someone had commented, and I can't remember. I'm so sorry I didn't pull that up before I started filming, but someone had commented that NaNoWriMo was a bit of a controversy, and I didn't know that because I'm just brand new, and I was on Reddit and I saw this, and then using Google and ChatGPT, I just kind of figured out what this was. But apparently it was controversial. I didn't know that, so sorry if it is controversial. But really, what I'm interested in is giving myself that goal of writing 50,000 words in 30 days. So then that way you're on track, you have an idea, you can start. And it gives someone like me who is nervous and anxious about starting and doesn't feel like they have what it takes to be a writer, um, to actually give you that goal of writing every day. So then you have that framework. So that's really my intent of NaNoWriMo. But let's jump into it. Um, so the first question of where it is that I write. So I actually write at home. I'm currently not working. I don't know if you've seen my first video, but I was actually let go from my job. And so in this moment, I feel super lucky that I have this opportunity to just sit and focus on my writing. So every morning I wake up, I have my coffee, and I sit down in my living room or sometimes at my table, or if it's a beautiful day, which it's not today because it is fall in Canada, which means that it is rainy and cloudy, and it will be for the next probably 9 months. But if it is nice, I'll go out and I'll try and be in nature. Those are the things that I do every morning. And I try to make sure that I write every single morning. I do it first thing in the morning because, as we all know, I know that anybody who's watching this has struggled with this at some point, whether it's for writing or for anything else in life. But life gets away from you. So I do it first thing in the morning. So when I first wake up, I try to not be on my phone. I find my phone is a time trap where if I pick up my phone, all of a sudden hours will pass by and I haven't done anything on my to-do list for the day. And so I think that's kind of like time travel, right? Like you pick up your phone and all of a sudden everything around you freezes and you're just going and going. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I've been scrolling Twitter or Instagram or I've been on Snapchat or whatever for so many hours. And then your day is gone. So that's why I try to write first thing in the morning. I'm very lucky because where I live is actually pretty remote. So I don't have a lot of distractions around me. Um, I know that one of my good friends who writes as well, she tries to go to a cafe. She likes the hustle and bustle around her. But for me, I actually prefer home because at home there are potential distractions like TV or phone or cooking or cleaning or whatever. But I try to limit those distractions by doing that first thing in the morning. So I wake up, I usually go right to the coffee machine. I have an espresso maker, very cheap. I bought it on Amazon for like $100, but I make myself double espresso every morning, and then I sit and I drink that while it's still warm. I don't like it too hot, but I like it warm. And then I sit down and I write. So while my husband is talking to me, sometimes I talk to him before I start writing because sometimes that helps me with processing what it is, and sometimes I even talk to him like this is what I'm hoping to write about, et cetera, et cetera. And I know I've shown you before my list, but that's the first thing I do every morning so that I can make sure that it gets done. Because if I wait too long, then time gets away from me. So the other question was, what do I use, whether it's a laptop, my journal, or typewriter? So I've shown this before on the channel, but I always write. I handwrite everything, and then that way I can make sure not make sure, but that way it just feels like it's coming from me. I've tried to write from my laptop, and I know so many people do that, and it's probably the more efficient way of writing because what I end up doing is after I write in my journal, then I go to my computer and I type it out, which it's obviously not very good. In the beginning, I tried typing from my laptop. I tried using dictation. I hated dictation because it was always wrong. And then I ended up having to go and edit my chapter before I ended up doing anything. So I found that the easiest way for me and the way for me to really connect to the story that I'm telling is to sit with my journal and write, and I'm just writing it out. So in the beginning, I would sometimes lose track of where I was, or I didn't know what to say, or that voice in my head was so loud telling me that I'm not good or whatever that is a very absolute part of writing. But uh, so in the beginning, I would actually just journal. So I would sit and I would just write what's in my mind. And sometimes it was writing what that voice was telling me. Because I found that when I actually confront that voice head on, it goes away. And then all of a sudden, I would get this moment of inspiration where the story would start coming to me. So then I would just flip the page and I just start writing the story. So for me, that is what works in my process. Um, Maybe it's because then that's when the espresso kicks in, and all of a sudden I'm feeling like real good and bold for the next 30 minutes. But it works. So now, actually, that I've been doing this daily writing every single day for more than a month now, it's been almost 2 months. That I've been doing daily writing, I find that I don't need to do the journal part first, because I already kind of know the story and I'm excited to tell the story and I'm able to connect with the story much faster. Which leads me to another point. And someone posted this on a different video, which is writing an outline. So I'm not a plotter. I don't like to sit and plot out everything. And I know that that works for some people. It just doesn't work for me because what I was doing is spending so much time plotting that I wasn't actually getting to writing. And I've also talked to this point many times, so I won't go into too much, but the plotting versus pantsing video, I'll post a link to it here just above. So then you can have access to that as well. But the two different theories of plotting versus pantsing. So plotting is I'm going to write out every single thing I want, who my characters are, what they're going to be doing, the interactions in there. It can be as loose or tight of a plot that you want. Um, or there's pantsing, which is I don't do any of that. I just write and let the story tell itself. I'm somewhere in the middle because what I found that if I didn't at least have like a writing prompt, something that's going to be happening, what's my main point that's going to be happening in that chapter, then my story was just going all over the place. And then it created a lot of things like plot holes or character inconsistencies that I already know are there. So then when I get to revision 2 or draft 2, then I can go and fix those things. So I just take quick notes of those. But I also found that when I just did that one sentence or sometimes 2 sentences about what's going to be happening in the chapter, my chapters wrote so much faster because I didn't have to sit and think about what's going to be happening in that chapter or where the story is going to go, or is this going to be part of the broader story? Because I've talked about this as well. My story ended up going into a completely different direction, which is great. It's awesome. It's still within the universe of the original story I wanted to write. But now I'm stuck going, okay, which story am I going to write and how am I going to write it, etc. So I just find that that 1 or 2 sentence writing prompt about um, that particular chapter is helpful. So what I did is I actually did a list of each of my chapters. So I've got about 20 chapters. I might increase that to about 25. Some of the writing prompts ended up turning into two different chapters, which is okay. But just keeping me on track. And then I know, okay, down the road, this is where it's kind of leading to. So it can help with things like foreshadowing or promises, as Brandon Sanderson says. So what are the promises of your story and how are you fulfilling on those promises so that there's no loose ends at the end of your story? So super helpful. That's what I use. I don't have any like programs. I use Word. So my journal, and then when I go into write it out for my reading, I actually just use Microsoft Word. And then but I do have to retype. So that's kind of inefficient, but it's what I have for now. So if any of you have any other uh, free apps or anything that you use to help yourself keep organized and keep that inspiration flowing, let me know, comment below. I want to check out everything. I do want to make sure that it's free, or as low cost as possible, because I did mention one that I saw on Reddit called Scrivener. Not free, not cheap, but apparently super effective, and it allows you to move pieces around, which I would find super helpful. So if there's anything that anybody knows that's similar to that, just comment below. I'll check it out. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about is just like my habits or my practices. So I've already kind of touched on this, which is I make sure to do it first thing in the morning. If I don't do it then, sometimes my inspiration doesn't really come, or I find that I get distracted more. So do it first thing in the morning, right as I'm having my coffee, sometimes right after I talk to my husband. But the other thing that I do that is I find super helpful is I put on music. So I like to have just classical music. The playlist is here for you so you can see. It's called Calming Classical on Spotify. I find that super helpful. Um, and I found this out because my husband is actually a classically trained pianist. And one day he was practicing his piano, and it was so calming. And as I was writing, all of a sudden I like got right into that flow state where nothing else existed around me. And I was able to write. I think I wrote 2 or 3 chapters that one day. And it just kind of flowed. And so from then I was like, oh my God, I need to recreate this. How do I do that? And then I actually love that Calming Classical Spotify playlist, and so I use that. But I do have friends that write, or they're creatives, and so not all of them are writers, but they're creatives, and so they use music as a conduit as well to kind of achieve that flow state in a faster way. But that's the one I use. So I either put my headphones in if my husband's doing something else, or I'll sit at my kitchen table and I'll write. And I'll just have that on my phone playing, or playing in the house, either on the TV or on a speaker. So those are the things that I do to make sure that I'm consistent and I'm staying dedicated to the craft of writing. It's getting better. I think that you guys can see the progression of my writing from chapter 1 till chapter 5. Uh, I know that I said this before, but chapter 5 was a tough one for me. That was a moment in time where I just wasn't feeling connected to writing. Um, and so I still did it. I still put it down. It did have like the tenets of what I wanted from the chapter, like the main pieces that I needed from the chapter, but it just didn't feel like I was connecting to that flow state when I was writing it. Which made it tough for me to kind of read, and like made my chest feel tight. But it's part of the process. It's part of my promise to all of you is that I will go and I will read my rough draft, because it's so hard for me anyway. And I know I talked about this last Friday, but I always had this really naive and kind of romantic idea of what it was to be a writer. And it always stopped me from writing, because it's that thought of, if it's a masterpiece, it'll come out a masterpiece. But really, writing is hard. It's a hard process, especially writing a novel. What I'm finding from novel writing is it's actually about the mental piece of writing, which is I have to make sure I'm doing this every day. I have to do it the same way every day, and I have to remain dedicated and consistent. So I've been thinking of this a lot lately, because I'm having more difficulty with, I just keep having that voice going like, what are you doing this for? So I have to constantly remind myself, this is a project for myself. It's something that I'm super passionate about. And so I want to make sure that I write this the best that I can and just put it out there. Um, and then, as I talked about before, last Friday, it's about making sure you have goals. So goal 1 is finish first draft. Goal 2 is then start revisions. So making sure there's no plot holes, making sure that the story makes sense and it's the story you want to tell. Removing bloat, or adding things back, or not back, but adding things to the story that are going to make it more consistent. Then going through and doing character revisions. So does every single character's point of view really show through? Does the character remain consistent? And then finally making sure the world that you build is consistent. So that's the 4 draft model of your rewrites. And it was that romantic idea of what writers went through, which I didn't even understand all of this. And so my friend who is a writer, she was like, Taylor, sometimes writing is sitting and staring at your page for an hour because nothing's coming. That's part of writing. Sometimes writing is writing a chapter or multiple chapters and then throwing them out because it's not what you want. But that's a part of writing. And so these are the pieces that I'm hoping will uh, inspire someone else, like it is to me, of eliminating that voice in your head that says like you're not good enough or it's not good enough or you're not an artist or you're not a writer. So give up now rather than continue. I'm hopeful that this will actually motivate others to just start writing because it is all of those things. And there will be those moments of like flow state where things are just beautiful and every word you write seems like an artistic endeavor. But those happen, but they're not the norm. Like the average writing session is actually going to be those times when you're just like pushing every word through and you're like, God, I just got to get through this. So, I'm super excited to continue this. Some days are better than others. Some days are a slog, man. Like some days I'm just thinking, why am I doing this? This is so crazy. I'm putting myself out there to the world for people to see how hard this is for me. And I'm an anxious person. So thinking about that just kind of makes me crazy. But I'm still doing it because keeping myself accountable, you all keeping me accountable is so helpful for me. So thank you to all of you. Um, if there is anything that you do, I want to encourage you to comment below for your process because like I said before, I am testing everything. I want to make sure that I actually get to the finish line of finishing my novel and not just my rough draft. I want to go back and do my rewrites and make sure that it's to a point where I can actually get to publishing. So all of that is there. I'm putting it all on the table. So just make sure you put a comment down. What works in your process? What do you use? Do you have some other thing that helps you get into that flow state? But I'd love to hear what tools you're using. If you have any free tools or anything like that that helps you, let me know. If there's anything else that you want to see on this channel, just like Airbug did, comment. Let me know because I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I also am so grateful on the Tuesdays when I read my chapters for those of you who are like, hey, try this or this didn't really work and maybe like fold this in. I'm taking notes. I keep a whole notebook just on the feedback that I'm getting so that when I get to the rewrite stage, I can actually start doing some of the things that you guys are recommending. So with that, I want to let you go. I hope you all have the most incredible rest of your Friday and an amazing weekend ahead where you get to spend time with the people who matter most to you. So your loved ones, your friends, your family, whoever that might be. If it's your puppy, love it. But just have and make sure you take the time to enjoy your life, which uh, that for me is spending time with my husband, writing, getting to do these videos and check-ins on the things you guys are commenting below. So with that, I will see you all on Tuesday when I get to read to you chapter 6. With that, bye everybody.